sometimes it can feel as if we've seen everything. Do you know that feeling? That even the new stuff you've seen somewhere before, like nothing could surprise you anymore. Have you ever felt that way? Of course, it's just a feeling. We haven't really seen everything. Nobody has. It's hard to argue, though. When we're truly watching, when we're truly listening, it's easy to see that there is more to see than can ever be seen. Our life is not enough to truly see it all. There will always be a what's next. Time continues. That is time's only job, is to continue. The sun will continue to rise and set no matter what we do. In this spirit, I ask you, my friends, whether this is your first time here or whether you're a longtime member of the community church. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for us? Asking this question, what's next, is not much of a spiritual discipline, and thinking about the future is not really rocket science. It's not really prophecy either. Asking about what's next is a bit of a not knowing sense of the future, right? It's not quite tenuous. What's next is not always a comforting thought either. Sometimes it's a scary thought. This thinking about the future and asking what's next, myself, sometimes makes me feel invigorated. Sometimes it makes me feel like I hadn't really been doing much before until I asked the question, what's next? Sometimes the question gets me feeling excited, and this feeling of excitement I call the spirit of adventure. What exactly is the spirit of adventure? I would call it more of a non-anxious anticipation. The spirit of adventure doesn't have to be super happy. You don't have to like everything. But the spirit of adventure gets up in the morning. The spirit of adventure asks, you guessed it, what's next? The spirit of adventure says, what am I going to make? What could I make? The spirit of adventure asks, what could I be today? The spirit of adventure still hears tragedy, still remembers pain. The spirit of adventure doesn't ignore hurt and injury, but she acknowledges them and puts them back in her satchel. The spirit of adventure is busy. She has somewhere to be. The spirit of adventure walks, not so much talks. Though if you asked her, I bet she would have a lot to say. What advice might the spirit of adventure offer you? I have a guess. Try everything. Even if we tried, we couldn't do it. We couldn't try everything. There's too much in this world to try. Remember, the world is bigger than we know, even if it feels like we've seen everything. What haven't we tried? What haven't we gotten around to? That's the spirit of adventure talking. So let me ask you again, what's next for you? What will you do next? What shall we try together next? What can the community church be next? Now, hold your horses, someone might say to me. I don't know if we say that here. We say that where I'm from, hold your horses. I know we don't really have any horses. But where I'm from, we say hold your horses, meaning wait. What's next isn't always desirable. The next thing might be a bad thing, and in this world, who could blame you for saying so? We are less excited for what's next, because these days, I find good reasons to be nervous or anxious. It is in fact true that our world is shrinking, not just because of rising sea levels or the dwindling habitable area of human development. I promise this morning I'm not here to dwell too hard on the bigger problems, but we're in a time of great global upheaval. This is the 6th mass extinction that has befallen planet Earth. We're experiencing it as we speak. What this means is not only are many thousands of species in the process of disappearing, but entire ecosystems, climates, are likely disappearing as well. For our world, what's next is likely going to be smaller, less busy, less active, and maybe less plentiful than what came before. Yet even now, we have just barely scratched the surface, humans, of the great diversity and plenty that existed in our world long before us. Many ecosystems have already been lost to science and memory before ever being observed by people. I find that deeply inspiring, that entire trees in the Amazon had and continue to have self-contained ecosystems. These ecosystems rise and fall without classification and without analysis. Friends, we have not begun to see everything. There is so much more to see than we could see. This is the important part to me. There is more to come than we could even imagine. Our world has changed more in the last 2 years than in my lifetime before that. The world has thrown us a curveball, and it's time to try something new. What can we do about the problems of this world? Well, I'm not sure yet, but we can do something. So, I ask again, what's next? What's next for you? What's next for us? Adventures are messy things, Bilbo Baggins says to Gandalf at the beginning of The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. They make you late for dinner. I agree, adventures are uncomfortable. But let me tell you, if you haven't read The Hobbit, many pages of messy adventures follow that line. Not knowing where you're going next means specifically not being able to prepare for it. And adventures are complicated. But friends, we are on an adventure, whether we like it or not. Any adventure brings varying degrees of danger, and it is true that adventures do not offer safety. There is always a chance on any given adventure that something could get lost along the way. Do you know what I mean about lost along the way? Sometimes it can be hard to try new things, even small adventures, when you remember what's been lost. Adventures are complicated. Those of us who have lost something or someone may be more adverse to starting a new adventure. Knowing the pain of loss means perhaps being unwilling to lose any more. We want to stop the messy uncertainty. It hurts. The spirit of adventure recognizes pain. Early on in my religious education, I was encouraged to explore traditions not my own. I found a particular resource in the writings of India and Hindu thought, and I read parts of the Bhagavad Gita in one of my first classes in seminary. My teacher, Father Paul Knitter, he was a dual-belonging Catholic priest and Buddhist monk, taught from his social location as a Catholic and Buddhist. He encouraged all of us as students to find places of comfort and familiarity, but not to stay there. To know yourself so that you can have the grounding to explore new places and new ideas. Well, I was encouraged. And in that moment, I found the spirit of adventure. I dove into the Bhagavad Gita, which is a story song poem that opens onto a battlefield near the end of an extended struggle. I just want to offer a little summary that opens onto a lengthy struggle and a brief time of war between two sides of the Bharata family, the Pandavas and the Kauravas. The Gita recounts a dialogue in the moments leading up to this big battle between a warrior, Arjuna, and his trusted advisor, Krishna. Krishna turns out to be a worldly incarnation of Vishnu, the Supreme Being. Now, Krishna and Arjuna are struggling in this conversation. Arjuna wants to give up. Krishna encourages Arjuna to fight, even to his death. Here is why. Krishna says, "While you speak words of wisdom, you are mourning for something not worthy of grief. The wise lament not for the living, nor for the dead. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all of these kings. Nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Just as the soul continues to pass from childhood to youth to old age, similarly, at the time of death, the soul passes into another. The wise are not deluded by this. This contact between the senses and sense objects gives rise to fleeting perceptions of happiness and distress. These are not permanent. These come and go like the winter and summer seasons. O descendant of Bharat, one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. If you fight, you will be slain on the battlefield and go to the celestial abodes, or you will be victorious and you will enjoy kingdoms on earth. Therefore, arise with determination and be prepared to fight. Fight for the sake of duty, treating alike happiness and distress, loss and gain, victory and defeat. Fulfill your responsibility in this way, and you will not incur sin." Friends, when I heard this, it was strange to me. It was foreign to my upbringing, and it was foreign in theme from what I was told. Fighting was sinful. To fight did not bring forgiveness to me. I continued reading, and I became aware of two things upon reflection. First, I was not Hindu. This is a different world with different characters and themes. It was a new adventure. It was wholly alien to me and unfamiliar. And yet, I also knew that it sounded true to me, that these words connected to where I had come from and connected to the spirit in my heart that knows that doing is better than sitting and thinking. What are you afraid of? Might be Krishna's enduring message. The worst does not come from the striving, but in the not striving. For us, perhaps, the worst is not to come from an adventure, but from a lack of adventure. Be not afraid, Community Church. It is a time of adventure. What happens next in the text is that Krishna's words are deeply inspiring, the soldiers go off to battle, and poetic descriptions of bravery and glory follow. I encourage you to read it yourself. Krishna does not erase the pain of loss. Krishna acknowledges it and moves on. Loss is a part of our world, but it is not the end of our world. Time, as I said, moves forward. That's its only job. The sun still rises and still sets. What's next, Community Church? What's next for us? Our building down the street, it's not ours anymore. The feeling we might have had, that we might remember or not, of gathering among those whom we loved in a place that we knew, that feeling is not here with us. There is more, however, to come, more than we can imagine. What's next, Community Church? It is now December. The slow crumble of our world feels to me heavy and large. The reasons to be grateful are there. The reasons to be joyful are there. In this city, diversity offers rich and varied expressions of human culture that seem limitless. This is my New York. This is what's next for us, Community Church. In our world, people seem determined to be loud in their power, changing the world through the pain and death of others. I know that these events in our country make me feel nervous sometimes and make me feel afraid of the adventures that we are coming with. This new world is ripe for an adventure. I want to leave you with one image, an image from the animated motion picture Up from 2009. This movie is a rollicking fantasy. It doesn't really make sense, but cartoons don't have to. In the beginning, two school-aged children, Ellie and Carl, crowd themselves over a handmade treasure book, complete with drawings and library book clippings that explain the far-off world of Paradise Falls. Only, Ellie says, I'm not too sure how I'm going to get to Paradise Falls. She ponders like this for a moment, and then like a shot of lightning, she exclaims, "That's it," and turns to the other kid. "You can take us there in a blimp. Swear you'll take us there. Swear it." Carl, nervous, crosses his heart and promises, even though he has no blimp. Ellie's logic, like the logic of a child, solves the problem by imagining a blimp. The problem is now solved. Isn't this also, in some ways, the way of adventures? Before they start, they're so much easier to imagine. Well, Ellie and Carl's adventure does continue to Paradise Falls, but it doesn't begin until many, many years later, after Ellie has passed away and Carl is well into his twilight years. Carl no longer climbs the stairs in his home unassisted, yet still finds a way to bring them on the adventure. Carl carries himself, along with Ellie's ashes, to Paradise Falls, as promised. It doesn't look like they expected, and they don't ride a blimp. But adventure is out there, the slogan goes, repeated throughout the movie. And by the end, Carl is repeating it as if he believes it. Adventure is out there. Well, real-life adventures are not quite as simple as they are in the movies, but this movie to me holds a unique power. It offers a simple explanation of a complex reality. Adventure, whether we like it or not, is out there for us. It's out there for you, it's out there for me, and adventure is gonna be messy. It might make us late for dinner. Adventure is unpredictable. We can run from it and try our best to control it, but we can't. Adventure will continue, just like time. Time's job, after all, is just to continue. The sun will keep rising and will keep setting. So, What's next? Amen.